Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's use case team for ODTN. Just have a few introductory items that I want to go through. Um, Today is the last. Today and tomorrow are the last days for reviewing the reference design for ODTN. So, if you have any comments and thoughts, please do express them in the wiki. Uh, Usual page. If you are an ONF member, you have access to this. You can take a look at it. After the comments are done, we'll take a look, and then we can share them with publicly with everybody. And we're putting together the plan to do that. For those who are not ONF members, there's nothing new written here. It's just a general concept about what we are developing with ONOS and in this team call. So if you have any comments, just please submit them through there. Um, Something else that I want to make also as because I like to meet people in person and like in spending time with a group of people that we're working with and not just have a call every once in a while and don't see our faces. So if you're coming to OFC, I will be there, and I know that a few other people from the group will be there. So I would encourage everybody to send to go to this link that I have over here, and it's a Google form that's actually I already had it open here, and because I would like to have a dinner, if possible, with everybody in the team during OFC. For anybody who was already there, as you guys know, we have the demo, and I have a few talks about what we're doing. So if you're attending OFC and you would like to join one of the days for dinner, please just pick the date and email surname and any restriction that you have, maybe for dietary restriction. So we can I can get together. We can get together, and I can organize the dinner, book the place, and everything else. So that's just something. I'll send out an email, but if you guys want, just go on that link, and you can just reply to me, and I'll set it up so we can have a nice dinner all together. Karthik is not on the call because he is currently in a conference for MEF, so he couldn't join. But I believe there is really no much of an update both on TAPI RI reference implementation and the 2.2. As of last week, they were testing, and they plan to do a series of RC candidates to then release TAPI. I don't believe there is any update on that side. I know there was an email floating around on a fix that was required, and it will be probably be put in TAPI 2.2. Arturo, do you have any update on that? I know you were.
The last thing Karthik says is that this is an issue regarding the conversion from UML to Yang, and that this can be fixed for the next release. I think that it's worth that next time I engage with Karthik, I can get a little bit more information, and if we agree so, we just can open an issue and put it as a target for the next release. But I would like to talk with him because I don't know if he plans to do it or if it well, it's something that it can be provided by me. I don't know really. So
Yeah, and what I think we should also participate in the call, so we can actually put this on the agenda for the next topic call.
exactly.
Uh, and fix this in that sense. And this will also continue with the power discussion.
Andrea, there's one thing.
Yes.
I don't. Sorry, Andrea. Could you send the link of the document because I don't have the. I don't see the the mail that you usually send regarding the agenda of today. So I don't have the link for this Google
I
Doc.
did send it, but that's okay.
I didn't phone it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just pasting it in the chat for anybody who wants to access it. So there it is.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. So yeah, and we will also be useful for the power discussion participating in the next topic call, but we will come to that. So a little bit of an update on the Jira stories that we are currently doing. So I'll start with mine, so then others can go then ahead and do theirs. So recently, I merged, like this morning, an augmented cache that we were using a cache for the OpenConfig and other things in the southbound for ODTN drivers and terminal devices and the flow root programmable that were getting created for a phase 1.5 demo. And it needed to store some internal mapping from flow rule to configuration and flow rules that were on the device. So what I did was create this distributed cache. You guys can see it here. It's a fairly, very, very simple distributed map. Very, very simple. And that's nothing else. I basically changed nothing if the name of the class and the map. So this is now shared and every instance can go up, can go and get that. And that goes in line with my long-lasting story about the OFC demo, because that includes 3-node instance, ONOS. I'm also very happy to say that I currently have now environment in ONF to do testing of a multi-instance with the Docker emulators and physical devices. I would like to thank Hiroki to helping me set up that. And I will start doing some testing probably tomorrow for that. So I've been also working on, where is it? There, 7826, they implement the flow root programmable. I have the patch. I shared the patch, which is this one. Yes, this one. And thanks to Arturo and Rafael who commented on it. Arturo, I saw your comments about especially the JSON files. And I also uploaded it because that's what I thought it was used, but I wanted Rafael and the other people from Adva to take a look at it and see if that is the expected and correct JSON file, and if not, provide me a comment on what this is and what they are instead expecting to receive and to give me. And then I can change the patch according to that. But other from the parsing and creating of this JSON file, the flow root programmable is done. Do you guys have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it will be good if Rafael could send an example of what it will be the expected request sent by the ODTN to the ATVA TAPIOLS controller. And vice versa, which is the sample response that we could expect once the connectivity service creation, for instance, is sent, or which is the type of response that we should expect when we want to retrieve connectivity service. But just regarding my comments, what I saw is a mismatch between the request URIs that has been included at the beginning of the document and these body messages that are included here, because on one side the URIs are regarding the data API model and the body messages are regarding the part of the RPCs that are defined in TAPI. As far as I know, Rafael told me that they are expecting the data API model. So in order to create a connectivity service, it is not possible to use the defined RPCs. We should go straight for the data API model in order to request the creation of a connectivity service. Is this correct, Rafael?
It is correct, totally. Thank you.
So, yeah, I think that is a good idea, as Andrea said, if you could like provide an example of a typical request response, so it's going to be much more easy to code based on these examples. And I think that basically are just the what will be like a sample creation request of the connectivity service, and with this the sample response that we will obtain when you retrieve the list of the connectivity service that are already let's say available in the server. Because as far as I know, when you use the data API model and you create a new connectivity service, in the response you are not going to receive any JSON, right?
Yes, there will be no any JSON. So the response will just contain
200
the yes,
HTTP.
indeed.
Okay.
And in case of error, you can receive the JSON or the XML format message. So if there will be something wrongly encoded, or there will be some young mismatch, you will receive an less comparable.
Okay, yeah, then I will.
Okay.
So for sure, it's really important just to trace what we are responding.
Okay, yeah, then thanks, Rafael, for I saw your email. Sorry, I hadn't chance to reply. Thanks for the JSON file by the end of tomorrow. That would be great. I maybe have a set of questions about exactly like how the back and forth goes, but we can take care of them via email. And as soon as you share them, I will update these methods basically, where I create and parse the different JSON, and I think this would be good to go. What I would like, if possible, is when I update it again, for you guys to check it out and review it entirely, like as a whole patch. Maybe I did some mistakes, so I will assign everybody to it. But I think we are pretty close to getting also this done. So that's good. Thanks for that. We also did merge. So we also did work, and I will report for Ramon since he is, as you guys know, not able to join the call. But what he did was we went back, a little bit back and forth on his TAPI to intent conversion, and as a last update, we are thinking that the patch is ready. We are storing the UUID inside the intent key, thus not having to rely on any other storage method for the UUID of the intent, and thus helping us do a retrieving of the intents in the patch based on the UUID when for deletion, when a deletion request comes. So this patch should be ready to go, and I know also Hiroki tested it with a few of his code things, and for the Cassini box, and he told me that it works. So I think also this one, as soon as Ramon gives it a final set of tests, can go in. So I really hope that by the end of this week, which is the target we had, we are going to be able to have all the code inside the ONOS, and pending an update from the Nokia, which I will ask Dominique in a second. So that's what I had on my side. The others are, the usual tasks that I have.
Sorry, may I interrupt?
Oh yes, please, Rafael, go ahead.
So some time ago, I tried to complete this example request for the connectivity service, but I was struggling with some data nodes which were read only, which were supposed to be read write. So I remember, Arturo, you posted an issue on GitHub. Do you know if this was already covered and fixed somewhere in the API?
I'm sorry, Rafael, I lost it. Could you repeat, please?
No problem. So when I tried to complete the request for connectivity service, I found many read-only parameters which really shouldn't be.
Read only, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I commented to Karthik, but I'm not sure that it's properly addressed. Let me review and I will tell you offline, okay? Or I can tell you by
Okay.
mail.
Thank
I
you.
can put a new issue with Karthik about this, okay?
Okay, great. Okay.
Just one question. Are you referring to ONOS related issues or TAPI slash your agent?
To Tapi,
Okay.
agent. So
Okay.
there was an issue in Yang, and we are leveraging on this. So if there is something which is wrongly modeled, we cannot parse it correctly. So,
Oh yes, so that was the thing I think we talked about with Arturo before. We're going to join the call and make that fix. So thanks for bringing that up. Okay, next up, I would just want to touch up briefly on the 7893 from Alessio. I believe he's not on the call. No, but I know that his work is going on, and his patch is almost ready. Just a few fixes here and there to merge also the Metro Hall related flow programmable. On that, and this is my last comment I will make, is that I created a story that I assigned to myself to refactor the commonalities of the Flowroot programmables in existing Flowroot programmables, because at the moment there are already two Flowroot programmables that look very much alike. The Cassini Flowroot programmable, the terminal device Flowroot programmable, and I want to avoid having duplication of the code. And probably, if I'm not like terribly if there are no like terrible changes, also I believe the flow programmable from Nokia would have kind of the same pattern here and there. So I would wait for them to merge also theirs, and then when I have some spare time, I would go in, create a common class, refactor everything that's in the Cassini Flow programmable, terminal device Flow programmable, and maybe the Nokia one. And in order to avoid duplication of the code and avoid having to fix a possible bug in three places. That's kind of what the 7192 is. Okay, then I would like to ask you, Roki, if are there any comments on this?
About the your refactoring?
In general,
Okay. Uh, mm, sorry, there are no progress this week, especially for the Cassini integration. But I mentioned it last week. Now IP Infusion guys are implementing the southbound driver towards the Thai integration. So now we are waiting on the progress, and we start the integration test maybe the second week of February.
okay.
That's the current situation. Yep.
Thanks for that, Hiroki. And also thanks for the Flowroot programmable and Lambda query for Cassini that was merged this week. So it's already in ONOS, because that's the driver for the ONOS um, box operating system, and that's how we interface it with it. And then, as Hiroki said, the IPI people are implementing the translation between OpenConfig to their internal models, and then from their internal models to TIE to control the wavelength on the different cards. So that's good too. Okay.
Yes, right. But there's missing piece which is to configure the power configuration, but we have to decide the use case of the power configuration as you guys now discussing. So after we fix the design and the use case, I implement the power configuration feature to the Cassini driver.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Hiroki, for that. Yes, we will discuss the power in just a little bit. So I will also ask Dominique if there is any update on the Nokia side for their driver.
Yes, there is an update. We started really this end of the last week and this week on programming the Nokia flow programmable for tuning the power and the frequency at the transponder. We are on the progressing. We didn't perform some testing yet on our platform because there were some shutdown here, but we are progressing, and I hope we will have a complete implementation and testing done during next week. I hope. This is what I can report. I may have to synchronize with you, especially Andrea, and possibly Arturo also on the completion of this task. And concerning the Lambda query, we will also we are progressing also in this way. But I cannot provide you more updates for the moment because we really started, as I said, end of last week.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Dominique, for the update. And I can try and schedule a call with us and Arturo to better understand this, and also to make sure we are on the same page for the equipment in the Telefonica lab for the OFC demo.
Hello. I cannot
That's
hear
fine
you.
for me.
I lost.
Okay, then I will schedule a call, hopefully in a European time.
Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, sorry, Dominique, you didn't hear. So we were saying that I will try and schedule a call for us, you, me, and Arturo, for both syncing up on this element and making sure that we have all the hardware for the demo at OFC placed in the Telefonica lab and ready to be tested. I might include Rafal or Conrad from Adva to make sure that also they have visibility on exactly what the lab setup is, and we make sure that they are also on the same page with us. Would that be okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yes. On my side as well.
I will try for a European time frame. I'll send an email about this to everybody. Okay. Is there anything else that needs to be discussed at this point? Oh yeah, there is 7901, which I created last week. I started discussion with Jordan to fix the issue of multiple events getting generated from the DCS. We think we have a possible solution. We just need to narrow down a little bit fix a few details, and then we probably can go ahead and implement it. I don't have a time frame for this, but I hope it's gonna come pretty soon. But it's lower priority than other items, so that's that. Okay. So this is the flow programmable that Hiroki did. If Dom, you need any other reference points, you can take a look at this patch of how he's done the flow programmable for the Cassini box. If anybody wants to review Ramon's patch for his TAPI to intent mapping, this is it. Just go ahead and take a look. And I already mentioned my TAPI flow programmable and my device connection cache. So that's about it. So now, since Arturo is back, I would like to have a discussion on what the state of the power configuration is. So as you guys know, last time with Stefan also we talked about the importance of the optical signal to noise ratio and how the power kind of depends on that. And from Karthik, we got the comment that we could request the target power, but this is only the target power that the OLS would like to receive, but it's not related to the setup path. So I know Arturo created where is it? GitHub. GitHub issue for TAPI related to this. Arturo, can you go over it a little bit?
Yes, it's been a while since I did this, but maybe you can go a little bit down. There were animals, I think, that it was more or less explaining all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you go a little bit down on the issue?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Okay, there is a PDF. Maybe you can open it.
Sure.
Okay, you can just zoom a bit.
Mhm. Oh, okay. That was a little bit too much.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Never used it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Good. So basically, the idea was that the current TAPI release was not accounting for any information regarding the actual OSNR and power balancing validation for a given service in a disaggregated environment. So this is something that I wanted to include in the previous TAPI version. I proposed for that, but due to the strict deadline of the closing of the release, it was not possible to have the time enough in order to discuss this, and it was left for the next release. So my idea was basically try to include a sort of end-to-end, let's say, parameters for the given network media channel that is created that allows us to measure what is going to be the OSNR degradation across this network media channel, and which is also the range of the power that can be let's say include as the input of this network media channel. So this is like the two parts of this proposal. So one will be like one way of characterize the network media channel physical impairments degradation in both terms like OSNR, chromatic dispersion, PLD. There might be others. I left this open. And the other part is like in the endpoints of this network media channel, there should be or it will be necessary to include sort of parameters that allows us to know which is the maximum or the minimum tolerable power range that can be transmitted through these interfaces. So this is like my proposal in order to go one step beyond on the validation of the physical impairments and power balancing when you establish a disaggregated optical channels with NMC and an optical channel coverage. I wish we can have a good discussion on this about this proposal. I think that this is sort of this proposal is really aligned with the partially disaggregated scenario, so it's considering an end-to-end network media channel, which basically has these end-to-end parameters regarding the degradation. I don't know if we could like have a dedicated session regarding TAPI on this, but from my opinion, this is something that we should let's say consider for a next phase of the ODTN project. I mean, not for the demo of OFC for sure, because there is no time right now to include this in the model and also force, let's say, ADVA, for instance, to implement it, and us from the ODTN controller to be able to process this information and make any kind of smart thing on this based on this information. But this is something. Yeah, go ahead.
So I have mainly one question or a few questions. So the first question I have is these parameters would be assigned to the service interface point after the connectivity service is created, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And those could also change depending on other existing connectivity services that can change the internals of the OLS. Thus, for a specific service interface point, at a later point in time, we could have different required ingress and egress given the same connectivity service, or does that not change?
Yeah, you are right. Let me try to clarify because I mean it's something that I let's say defined some months ago, and I was not really remembering everything. So my idea was some extensions for the connectivity service itself. So this is something that you can include as requirements for the connectivity service that you are sending to the OLS for this network media channel. So for instance, if you want, because you have given transponder with signal requirements based on its signal information that requires, I don't know, a maximum OSNR penalty, a maximum chromatic dispersion, a maximum PND the penalty, and so on and so forth. You can include these constraints as part of the connectivity service request. So this can be processed by the OLS controller, and it's responsible of assuring the creation of a connectivity service that meet these constraints. So this is one part. As you mentioned, this can change over the time, in the sense that maybe it's assuring these conditions when the service is created, and later on, if you include more services in the network, it might affect that they degrade the actual or quality of transmission of the given service. But if you have, let's say, a maximum OSNR penalty toleration, for example, it should be the responsibility of the OLS controller to guarantee that any further connectivity service that is created afterwards will not degrade this service beyond the given threshold that we are specifying for the connectivity service. This is like one side, and this is on the creation of the connectivity service. And then for the service interface points, there is other
sorry, before we go there, so you're proposing that these parameters are not only read from the OLS from the ODTN controller or the optical controller, but they're also write. Because when we were talking with Stefan, it would be, at least in my opinion, harder for the OLS, and maybe Rafael or Conrad, please confirm this, or even Kevin. It would be harder for the OLS to enforce these parameters. So it would be easier if the OLS could report these parameters given the setup that he does internally.
Okay,
That's a question.
maybe what we can, yes, sure. There is two things. There is a sort of category that we can call constraints on the connectivity service that can be imposed when you create a service. Whether the OLS controller or the OLS are going to be able to implement this kind of constraints is out of the scope of not out of the scope of this discussion, but I mean, it's something that I'm not considering like, I don't know how to say. I mean, it's something that for sure there are going to be implementations that are not supporting this, but it's something that it can make sense, no? That if, for instance, the OLS control is implementing a sort of PCE and it's able to validate physical impairments and has this kind of computation for their own services, it's alike that you can enforce a sort of constraints regarding the physical impairments of a service. And the other part is the one that you are mentioning, that maybe it can be easier or maybe it can be more doable for current implementation, that is to retrieve the information of an actual connectivity service that is created. So in that sense, what you should try to include in the model is not sort of constraints, but a sort of information of the current OSNR values that are received in the endpoints, right? So it's not just I mean, it's something more related with the value that you are receiving or you are sensing at the input and output endpoints of a given service that is already created. That's right?
Yes,
Or do you were thinking something like this?
I believe so. Yes, I think this is the correct use case.
Yeah, the only thing there is that we should also discuss, I mean, which kind of endpoints has the possibility of sensing these kind of values, because normally when you sense OSNR, you are sensing that on the transponders. I mean, it's something that normally is sensing on the transmitter and receiver sides. It's not something that is, I think, easy of being sensed in the middle of the network media channel. So unless you have a sort of card at the input of the OLS, let's say the input and output ports of the OLS, that is able to sense this parameter for a given optical band, that it is what we will call the network media channel, it's likely that it's going to be difficult that the OLS is able to provide this information. But this is something that for sure we can discuss. My idea was something more like, from a planning perspective or path computation perspective, that you are able like to enforce an end-to-end degradation that is the maximum tolerated by the open terminals that you are going to attach to it. I mean, you know which is the specification of your transponders, and you can enforce the OLS to create a service that is complying with the degradation that you are that is tolerable by your transponders. On the other side, what you are proposing is sensing this information after the service is created, and then you have to be able to create compute this information and validate against the requirements of your transmitting and receiving.
Yes. So why am I? I don't know. The idea that I had was that we could the OLS would set up the path to the best of his capability. Then would give to us the power, and since the signal to noise depends on the power, external facing. I mean, that internally to the OLS, it can do whatever you want in terms of power and signal to noise. The only interesting bit to us is towards the transceivers. So if the OLS reports us a required ingress and egress power to achieve a certain OSNR that he needs internally, we can make sure that the transponders output to that given power to achieve that OSNR. Or am I mistaken in any of these assumptions?
Okay. Just let me see if I understood. So you are saying the service is created by the best of the knowledge of the OLS and the best path that is feasible between two endpoints, and this is giving you the best performance available in the network, let's say. Okay. So based on that, the OLS is potentially able to tell you if you are giving me an input signal with this power range, I am going to guarantee that the OSNR that you're going to receive at the end of the network media channel is going to be this value. Is this correct?
That was, yes, my line of thinking. I can guarantee to achieve the best in terms of path and OSNR. This is the power that I need.
Okay, so it's even not necessary that you know which is the actual value of the OSNR. It's just that he's going to tell you which is the operational range in terms of power that is good for the transmission, and based on that operational power is going to give you the best performance available. If this performance is good or not for you, it is completely out of the scope of the validation that the OLS is going to give you. It's going to only give you which is the operational range in terms of power that is going to give the best performance possible, right?
That was my thinking. If anybody
No,
has,
no, 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 that's correct. So then coming back to my proposal, if you see in the left green box on the top, this is exactly what you are talking about.
okay,
Require ingress total power range, require egress total power range. So maybe we should like think if this is something that can be defined bidirectional or if it need to be defined unidirectional. But this is, I mean, what you are like saying specifically. I don't know if something that need to be attached to the endpoints of the connectivity service itself, or it is something that need to be attached to the service interface points. It's something that maybe we should discuss. But yeah, don't know if it's worth to have a specific session with Karthik and any other people interested within the TAPI community in order to go forward with this. But I mean, for us from Telefonica perspective, it's something that is crucial in order to complete the model, because right now it's not complete from my point of view.
okay, yeah, no, I think that we need to have a call with Karthik. He was offering to us a slot in the next TAPI call to work on this, meaning that he would uh, either me or you should present the use case and then answer the questions of the TAPI people, and then they would all go on and discuss exactly like, do we put it in the service interface point, somewhere else,
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I think I can. I think it's a good idea. I can go for the next TAPI call. I can present the use case, and we can also include maybe the other points that are on the table regarding TAPI, right?
Yes, that was my
The,
thinking.
the, the, the issue that Rafael pointed out before, I have checked it, and I think that it is not answered yet, and it's an issue open already in the TAPI repository. So these two things plus the other one that is discussed with Ramon in the mail loop. So I think these three things we can bring it up in the next TAPI call.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to make sure that if anybody has any comments on this from this call or any thoughts, could you guys please share it if you have it?
So I have one comment. According to power levels and this whole story which you were talking about, so I think that what we can do in our implementation in the context of ADVA is that we will receive some optical impairments parameters from the open terminal with some power level, and if we will have OSNR and other parameters, and then we have some path computation algorithm which will compute the path using the optical impairments, and with the proposed parameters, optical parameters, we will try to set up a service between inside the OLS, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So after the service creation, we will know that the service is okay in the context of the optical impairments parameters, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Conrad, what about the other part? If it is possible from your perspective to provide once the OLS service is created, which is the required power range in the input of the network media channel ports?
I need to check it, but I think that it will be possible. So you mean that after the whole creation of the service, we will modify the parameters of the endpoints with the change it, for example, power levels, yes?
Yeah, I wonder that from your side, I guess you have some restrictions or requirements in terms which is the actual power that need to be received in those ports of the network media channel in order that the quality of transmission is guaranteed, right? I mean, it is within the power range that hits the expectations from your side, the amplifier and so on, right?
So there is a configuration parameter in which you are specifying the exact input power which will go inside to the OS, and based on this input power and the input OSNR and the receive OSNR range R and receiver power range, we are able to compute path which is feasible. Otherwise, our PCE element will return and that there is no path in network which will satisfy those expectations.
Yeah, but so I mean, how I understand that
So
from your side,
Mhm.
the PC allows you to compute the path given sort of constraints in terms of power and input OSNR. But if we do the other way around, as Andrea was mentioning, we don't impose any constraint. We just ask the path between two service interface points, and then you have the freedom of creating the path that is going to have the best performance according to your setup or the status of the network. I guess that depending on the channels that are going to that are created in the network and other kind of constraints, you will have a target input power that you need to receive in order to have this service working successfully, right? And this information is something that potentially you should know and you should be able to provide. This is correct?
So the target input power is our input, not the output from the mechanism, if you know what I mean. So for now, we are assuming that there is a certain power. For today, we are not having a mechanism which will result, which will return for you. For example, okay, we will have this good path, but you need to put here this amount of power.
Okay, so it's something that you need to receive as an input of the service creation.
That is right. We can assume that there is some input range. So for example, based on our road, so you won't be able to damage any internal elements, but there is no like the simple RPC that says you that you should use this amount of power in order to get the best. If we are having connected our own transponders, there is such mechanism, right? So during the power equalization, we're able to tune the power. But if there is an external terminal, we can just put here and fixed value for today.
Okay, understood.
So we can also discuss it internally. Maybe we can enable this feature with not a big effort. But
Okay, yeah. Then let's do this. I think the parameters are the ones we agreed on. Exactly then how we set them and use them might change in the sense that either we retrieve them from the ODTN controller or we set an initial range and you guys work with the range and then give us the exact power. That would depend on us. Is that correct in the understanding?
Yes, I think
yes.
so, Andrea.
Okay, then I think we understood the use case. It's just a matter of then how we implement it. That's a little bit different. But from a TAPI perspective, these parameters need to be there. Okay, great. Does anybody have any other thoughts on this? No? Okay, then As action points, me and Arturo will sync up and join the next API call. About this specifically, I will share a possible meeting between me, Dominique, Arturo, and General Telefonica and Adva, Rafael and Conrad, for the setup in Telefonica Labs, and that could also help Dominique sync up on his own implementation of the Flow programmable. So that's that. I will work with the TAPI Flow programmable as soon as Rafael and Conrad share with me the JSON files that they are expecting and the kind of back and forth that we're looking at. And so we have the Jira stories, and I think that's all for now. Does anybody have any other thoughts, any other comments? No? Okay. Then before we leave, I just want a reminder, participate in the ODTN dinner. If you guys are at OFC, I would love to have dinner with you and chat a little bit on maybe not even just work, but also like, well, building a relationship that's good is not just behind the monitor. So please participate in the ODTN dinner poll. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Andrea. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Andrea. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Bye.